Oh, we got Michael from the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, international. I love this. What a great collection of people.
No, we're lucky. We're super
All
lucky.
right,
All these
you know,
people.
it seems that people matter. I think we've covered our topic. We can now talk about coffee.
I know your espresso is going to kick in real soon. I think it actually have your 4 espressos. Right. Where are you? Tell everyone where you are right now.
Me? I am in the middle. I'm in the Midwest. I'm about an hour east of Minneapolis, and so I mean, you kind of see a little bit. I figured, it's a beautiful day, and I wanted to just kind of, and because I love you so much, and you are such a beautiful being, that I thought, what a great way to just like sort of surround myself in a beautiful environment with one of my all-time favorite darlings of the universe.
Me too. You're the bomb. Let's start talking. Let's just talk about. I mean, the impetus for even having this together, I mean, is kind of 1, 2, 3-fold. One, I've never run my own live. I've been so blessed and fortunate to be on other people's lives. Lindsay, thank you so much. One of those people. And hi, Aya. And so it was a big step in something I wanted to do much more of, which was kind of host and house wonderful people that mean a lot to me, that have impacted me in lives. But really, you and I were chatting a couple weeks ago, and we were both really just jamming on the fact that there is a lot of negativity in the air, certainly in pockets. And there's been so much that's gone on in 8 very short and very quick months, in some ways like the never-ending months. Yep. And we just wanted to elevate the mood and remind people that there is joy, that people do matter, that it is so incredibly easy to lock ourselves into scarcity or fear or cynicism and all that, and right on if that's someone's path, 1,000%. And however, there's so much life that is still going on here. Not even still. I mean, there's just so much to be grateful for and to experience and to just be in the world. Like, it's like, I don't know, I sometimes think about fairy dust. Amber, I love you, my twin, May 2nd, right there. It's I don't know, I just think about our interactions and the interactions with so many people I'm seeing here on screen. Like, for me, it's always been like fairy dust. Like, it's gives me a lot, and I think both of us wanted to remind one another that, and everyone else, that like we're here, we matter to one another, like we show up for each other.
Totally. Well, I mean, and plus, I mean, I think it kind of came from the point that we were talking about it's easy to be distracted by the noise and forget that, which basically puts us in a position of being just the recipient of chitter chatter and whatever. And we were just talking about the factor that, each of us is capable of, even in any interaction, I mean, just taking that extra few moments with someone and stopping and pausing and not being distracted by our devices or this is or that is, and then just stopping and saying, thank you for your help. I really appreciate it. And just creating that moment of recognition and that interchange, and not minimizing that. That was because I know that we do that a lot when we're talking. The conversations that you and I have are just they're very organically, they just are their own world.
A symphony, a cacophony.
It's a symphonic cacophony is what it is. And so, but the thing about it is that, it's so easy to get mired into the blah, blah, blah and forget, wait a second. You have something of value to offer me. I have something of value to offer to you. And together we have something of value to offer out there. So the question becomes, it's kind of conversations we've had before. Are we a point of emanation where we're actually providing sanity, order, kindness, empathy, compassion, or are we actually just taking in and being, I don't know, whatever?
I want to share two things that have nothing to do with you, but have everything to do with you because you care. Today, I was talking to someone in our London office, and I do these check-ins as 15 minutes or whatever. And he shared with me that I said, "How are you doing? How's it been?" So forth and so on. He said, "I'm an extrovert, and thus I've been very, very sad. I've been depressed that he's at home and whatnot." And we started talking about that, and I shared with him like I'm a real extrovert at work, and then in life I'm a real introvert. But I miss the interactions of people, and this is one of those interactions with you that I love because you make me laugh all the time and smile, and you're full of recognition. It's something I love about you. You always recognize me, and I feel that if I haven't said thank you. So we were talking about just stuff that is going on in his life, and I just thought, oh, what a very brave person. Also, for all my British friends out there, very bold of him to say he was depressed. 2 days ago, I had a conversation with someone I had never met, a new hire, relatively new hire, who shared with me off the bat that he's depressed and he suffers with depression. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is not to share what I do all day, but that we need each other and this outlet of just spending a little bit of time with someone and being able to receive whatever it is that comes. I talk about holding space all the time. I really should just rename my name, Holding Space Silver. But I think in the fact that we're virtual right now, so you have to go the extra mile to really reach out and touch someone. But that people are going through shit, they're going through stuff, and so it's important for us to reach across whatever, fictitious or non-fictitious, blah blah, and listen. Just listen to people. Just hold it. There was nothing you know what the guy 2 days ago and I ended up doing? You're not even going to believe this. We got on a tangent. I mean, he's 23 years old. It's his first job. We got on a tangent of poetry. And so I said to him, I have a poem for you. And I pulled up Derek Walcott's Love After Love, and I read it to him. I started crying. I'm like on screen, he's like, who is this woman crying? But then he read me a poem. And that's how our 15, 20 minutes went with one another.
Yeah.
I'm bringing that up because that's just that is so needed. It's just needed.
Yeah.
That's a tangent, left center field, but I know you can catch it.
Oh yeah, no, it totally tracks. The bottom line is, and I think where we so intersect on this point is we both know the importance of people, not from the standpoint. And here's what I love about you, and how you do it, and it was actually the first reason that I initially reached out to you when we first met. Before we first met, I had seen an article that Gary had written about you, and then there's some videos in it, and you emanated this stunningly gorgeous recognition, and it was just it was kind of like somewhere between a sense of duty and a sense of serving and a sense of and definitely a overriding aspect of purpose. And I was like, oh my God, who the freaking hell is this gorgeous being? I'm like, holy shit. I was stunned. And so I just sent you the thing. I just thanked you. And that was it. And then a few days went by and you responded in such a beautifully innocent, vulnerable, gorgeous way. And I was like, oh my God, who is this? Who is this amazing person? But it's that point. And I am that's where we track. I mean, I approach it slightly differently, but it's that factor of whenever I'm working, whether they're colleagues, whether they're clients, or whether they're just people that I interact like with us, I never ever will let them be a broken piece. I'm not going to deny if they're feeling broken, that's fine. But I'm not going to let them remain broken, because I know that I know people are repairable. I know people are fixable. I know people are amazing. And if they've dropped from their sense of amazingness in the world, I want to help them restore that and just reignite that. And that's the thing. That's the basic little bit of synergy and why people matter.
I love that. You know what I think would be really great? I don't know if many people know what you do, and can you just share a little bit about why? So you're a branding guru, I think. You're a people person. Like, where does that? How do you create space for people within a brand? Put it that way. That's a tongue twister. Yes.
Well,
love it.
no, I think that's a brilliant question. And the thing that I love about that question is that I find the clients and the companies that I work with, where they go off the rails is when they think the thing they've made is the thing that matters, and they lose sight of themselves as the thing that brought that into existence.
Whoa.
Right?
Whoa. Yes.
Right? It's like, it's like people going around, wow, what made that happen? You know, it's kind of like being in a concert and you're hearing this amazing music and you're going like, wow, that's great. And you like, where's it coming from? There's called a bunch of talented people standing on the stage right there. And if you notice, they're actually playing instruments and they're singing songs and they're doing various things. They're the people, they're the place where it's coming from. Okay, let's not lose sight of them. And that's the thing with regard to people. That's the thing with regard to brands. I love that. And I love giving people back themselves.
Oh,
that's what I love.
That's the shit right there. And see, when I get this question of like, what's the ROI of putting people first? And I understand where the question comes from sometimes. Or what's the ROI of your job? And I smile because it's like, what isn't? What isn't? And so when someone's like, oh, how did you and Gary come up with the title Chief Heart Officer? It's a great question. Super innocent question. Fascinating. It was extremely honest and super innocent, which is people are what keeps companies afloat. Like, people are, not to be all Depeche Mode on you, but people are people. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
I love your cultural little inserts. They're awesome.
Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you go just, it's not even going out of your way. Why won't you just like be the person that you would want someone to be for you? That's the deal. And I rarely say the word employees because I think it labels people into these boxes, and boxes, I think boxes are the death. And boxes are the death. So why wouldn't we want to just treat people as we would want to be treated, as like whole people, not broken people, not severed people, but just like people. And then you can go whichever way you want based on that human, based on the guy the other day who's literally like, I'm 23, I'm depressed, and there we go, starting in, I don't know, fucking poetry. Excuse my French, I'm sorry.
By the way, for those that don't know, both Claude and I speak fluent French.
Yeah. So anyway, Greg, thank you. People are people. So what does it mean? You and me go together so awesomely. Depeche Mode for you. But anyway, I just liked the idea of having this conversation with you, because I know even though we do different things in the world and we come from different star signs most likely and all of that stuff, you know, I had to pull some astrology and some NorCal from my friend Kate. NorCal love up there in the Burnsville area, so sending a lot of love up there. We both have hearts that want to stretch across borders, reach across
Absolutely.
borders, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the things that you've done for me, and you probably don't even know this, maybe you do because you're a magician like that. But you asked me, you honored me by asking me to write the foreword for your next book. And it really was an enormous honor, and one that I said yes to immediately. And then I was like, what the F are you doing, Claude? Like, you can't write a foreword for someone who's writing a book. Like, I had all of this other, like, all that garbage over there that's over there. And then it was like we had this conversation, and all of a sudden we started talking about jazz music, and you started to break down jazz music to me because it's a world that I don't know at all. And it was really quite something that in our conversation, in our interaction, just like in our interactions with all of these people that we know and admire on LinkedIn and our communities, like there was this symphony, and it really was jazz-esque. Now that I'm understanding a little bit of like, it's
Oh, I love it. Look at that. I want the world to know that was Claude's first sort of jazz improvisation live for the world. Right there, you caught it, and there it was. And by the way, for those that, just to give a context, because this is like a little running theme. It's like we kind of come back to this little jazz metaphor, and because I talk about the difference between jazz and classical, and I even created after we spoke a couple weeks ago, I created for Claude an actual playlist and sent it to her, which she has been sort of just fitting in and immersing herself in to just orient her to jazz. So that just gives you a little side note. This is sort of little behind the scenes, little bits and pieces how we've been playing with all this.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, you honored me by asking me to write your foreword. And in the foreword, and you were nice enough to do some editing for me, which was great. We brought up music in that foreword because it is something that links us, and it is something that makes sense to both you and I. And I think we both come in with our own beatbox, with our own strings, with our own horns, and to just bring it all back again to people. That's what makes this world go round, is that everyone has their own friggin' instrument, and none of us sound the same, but we all need each other. We all need, when the trombone is off or the piano is out of tune, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know I oversimplify, especially the world that, the world that we live in today, but I like to live in that place.
Oh, yeah. No, well, no, you made me think of this as well, which is the wonderful thing. If you've ever managed to catch a wonderful live, go to a club, and catch a live concert, especially with jazz players, particularly, it's kind of unique to that culture.
We will go back to clubs.
And you will go back to clubs, right? Why? Because like why people matter, why clubs matter, why coffee matters, why jazz matters. There's a whole theme here. It's going to be going on for some time. But the point is there's a beautiful trust. That's the interesting thing about, if you watch jazz players, there's a beautiful trust, because you have the different musicians. Could be the pianist, and it could be the drummer, bassist, and they're just laying down laying down a little something like that, and they trust and respect that spontaneous composition on the part of this instrumentalist here, whether it be a guitarist or a saxophonist or a trumpet player or whatever. And there's a trust, and there's a symphony, there's a synergy, and the best of life reflects that. The best of life, even this conversation right here, right now, you trust me and I trust you. There's that. If there wasn't that, that's the playground that makes this conversation possible. And now we can spontaneously compose ideas, just sharing back and forth. And so that's the thing that I love about all of this. It creates the space necessary to creates the space necessary for me to recognize you have something to add to the conversation, that you recognize I have something to add to the conversation. We recognize that even the people participating have something to add to the conversation, and that involves a level of trust, a level of recognition, and it's not an inward wondering, it's outward and extroverted outward awareness and cognizance and recognition. And other than that, I got nothing really to add to this conversation.
Total mic drop. Total mic drop. But I think we're talking about the weaving together. You know, it's like I'm watching all these great comments on the side here, and I'm thinking, God, it would be just so amazing if you could click a button and all these people could come in, and there you go, and there's your jazz, and there's your symphony right here with all of these incredible people that we know that matter to us. You know, mattering is so important as we building cultures, right? That's what I do all day, and a lot of people do all day. Whether or not you're building it in your family, or you're building it at your your golf team, or you're building it at your company. And for a very long time, I'm going to go deep for a second because this is very important. So it's a big humbling experience for me. So for a very long time, you know, I talked about psychological safety for a while. It's the bottom of Maslow's pyramid. It just makes sense to me that we need physical and psychological safety in order to create spaces of belonging. And I like to say, you know, belonging and bravery. That's what I've been saying for a while. And then I started to use the word mattering about 2 years ago because it just made sense that, like, between recognition and visibility, I think there is this word called mattering. Like, we want to know that we matter to you. If we were not here, you would miss us. It's not that other thing of like, oh, everyone's replaceable. I hate that. It's like, I would miss you. You bring something to me. You matter to me. And I think you matter to me. That's 4 words, 4 simple words that mean everything to someone. Anyway, the humbling part of this, which is all of it really, but as Black Lives Matter movement really came to the fore for many of us, especially myself, what became very obvious to me is, as I was saying, we want to create cultures of psychological safety and belonging. There were a handful of people from our Black and brown communities that said to me, you know, we're like, yes, but we have never actually felt like we belong. We don't feel like we can bring our whole selves to work. And I ditched that term a while ago. And then they went on to explain to me why, which is something I wouldn't intuitively, yes, I get, empathetically I get, but I don't get because my skin color is what it is. Anyway, the idea of mattering and belonging and psychological safety is so incredibly key. And I think, yes, in a culture, but yes, just when you're talking to another human, another person, like, what is the experience we are giving to them? Because in actuality, they're giving time to me or attention to me, which of course feels good. Vice versa. There's a generosity here. But also, like, how are we leaving people? We want to leave them feeling amazing, feeling good, feeling like they matter, feeling like this was a great interaction. Whoever you're with, you know, back in the day when we actually like did go into Trader Joe's or a flower shop or whatever, like, these people matter. Everyone matters. I don't know. I can go on, and I don't know if I'm actually going anywhere, but we I don't know. We can do better. I know we can do better.
Totally. Well, first of all, you are going someplace because I never let words get in the way of actual communication. And you are communicating. Whether the words were following you or not, it didn't matter because you were actually communicating.
You're really good, actually. You're really good at that, at deciphering like the actual crux of. And the crux of, I think, to me, is just like people matter, and we can do better.
Always. I mean, it's just, you know, there's the most. I'll share with you something that parallels with that, and it was actually probably a point at which I realized it's actually a little bit sort of a supplemental answer to what you asked earlier about, like, okay, I'm in branding, but I I'm very people centric. I work with those who are my clients, the companies that I work with. I always work with the CEOs, the owners, and the most miserable ones that I have found. Didn't matter how much was in their bank account, could they afford to hire me or not. It was the energy that they were generating as a result of creating this business, this company, this brand. Was it creating a platform that actually went out and created more ripples of goodness and helpfulness? Or did it just make their wallet and bank account fatter with more zeros and more commas? The most miserable were the ones where it just was inward. It was a very selfish. It's almost like probably like the stereotypical capitalist, like those who just want to make money for themselves, versus an entrepreneur, and especially one who's aware and actually interacts and gives and reciprocates. And that was probably the turning point at which I really started to pay more attention to people, and just going, the ones that I really feel wonderful about helping are the ones who will take that and actually flip it around, the what they've generated and the energy and those that they've employed, the jobs and the revenue and all the various stuff, and have then made it matter in the world. They made that matter, right? Because we could put $2 bills down on the table. One's going to be empty, and that's the one that's gone nowhere, and one's going to be full, and that's when it's actually gone to help more and generate more and create space. Because you and I talk a lot about space, and I love that, because without space, there's just not enough air in the room. If there's no space, you're like you choke.
Well, without space, I think you don't allow someone to be who they are. You just impose who you think they are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's like this level, I think, of when you're Parasites. Not the movie. That movie was phenomenal, but Parasite kind of like sits on you and sucks out of you.
Yeah, it requires the host. It's like living off of the host. Yeah.
But when there's space, you don't need to live off. You can just buy off the energy, and there's like just the good, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But like there's room for like this ebb and flow of air, and just room for people.
Yeah.
Room for people to be whoever they want to be, whether or not they are the trombone, the piano, the flute. You're surprised that I know all of these instruments. The oboe.
It's kind of like I am tickled, because it's like watching. It's like it's reminding me of when my kids were like little babies, and I just got them a new toy, and they're discovering it and playing with it, and it's like, so I just watching, you're like, you've got these new little toys of things that you're referring to, and I'm tickled. It's adorable.
I know, but I love classical. I told you when I lived in London, I went to St. Martin the Field quite a bit.
Yeah.
And really strings, so a lot of Bach, Vivaldi, obviously, and I could sit and watch string players. I mean, I love what a talent, what a skill to be able to take something and create music from it.
I have a music trivia question that I have to ask you, though.
God, okay.
Growing up, we had, now this is going back a little bit, but we had 78. 78s. Remember 78s? There were 33 and for those that don't know what I'm talking about vinyl albums. There were 33 and a third, which is your standard. But then there were 78s, and they were smaller, right? And
45?
and we had
45?
There were 45s were the smallest, and then there were 78s in the middle part. We had Ravel's Bolero.
Oh my gosh!
I used to listen to that endlessly. I loved Ravel's Bolero.
Yeah.
It just that whole building, that whole melody, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds. Do you love Ravel's Bolero?
Love it so much. I mean, I can hear it in my head right now.
Yeah.
And I believe this is going to go way back to trivia, and maybe someone knows this, but I believe like Ravel's Bolero was in some movie in the 70s. Maybe
it was.
movies. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what, but maybe someone else knows. And maybe it's been in a lot of movies, but like it feels like something I would have been like 6 or 7. But
Yeah.
you know what? Some people might not. Well, no one knows because no one was in that conversation with us before we got into the whole jazz conversation. And the other day, and then you ended up sending me this wonderful playlist. I played for you my favorite Cure song. So I Cure's my favorite band, and it's Plain Song, which starts off with a lot of uh, classical elements, and usually they start many of their live shows with it because
Yeah.
it's so phenomenal. And then there's this incredible crash, this thunderous crash, and then it goes into the song. And that's one of the reasons why I love music, but I love trance music quite a bit too.
Yeah.
Because, it takes you up, takes you someplace, and then it just into like stardust. It just like crashes and then takes you back down. And
Yeah.
we were talking about that, and that's when you also got me into more of like the jazz metaphors of jazz techniques in terms of like um, finding synergies in one another. But like, because I said to you, I think I said, well, is it the drum and the something? You're like, no, it's the bass and the
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. You made a reference, and I said that would usually be the drummer, the drummer laying down, and the bassist, the-dum, dum, 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 the-dum, dum, 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 and whether you're doing it like that or you're doing it, or then they can go halftime. You go the doom 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 doom.
hope someone finds you. I really hope so. I hope someone finds you quickly. This morning I was beatboxing with my daughter. Just like my version of beatboxing, which I'm not going to do now. But
Oh, come on,
no,
Claude.
I can't. I'm way too shy.
Oh wait, Claude.
Yeah.
See, to me, beatboxing is like. Is that what you mean by beatboxing?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And that's what you're doing with Shalom.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh,
Wow.
it was Alexis. I think it was 10. I think it was the movie 10. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Oh, with Derek Bowe? With
Yeah.
Bo Derek?
Derek Bombo.
Derek Bowe. Go Derek, whatever.
Yeah. It's totally all the same. So anyway, I don't know. I mean, I think I feel like I've squeezed the orange here. We know why people matter to us.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to share at this point.
Well, let me ask you a question, and see if this sparks anything for you. So, and I think I asked you this question a bit ago,
Yeah,
and
a bit ago.
here's the question. I'll open the door, and you can see what you want to do with it. It was basically because here's the thing. All right, so the one thing that Claude and I we tend to gush. We enjoy each other's company. We appreciate what we each stand for, and that it's genuine. Neither of us. We're not putting on like I'm not like this with Claude, and I'm different elsewhere. I mean, it's like this is who Claude is, and this is who I am. And so we kind of throw these little, this like, oh yeah, these little stupid little gushes back and forth. It's kind of cute. But the thing is that what I adore, and this is so that now I'm about to gush, hence my preamble.
Getting shy.
I'm very, very shy about my gushing.
Yeah,
So the thing is that what I adore is I never have found you to stray far from this pulse of yours. And I love that. I don't find that to be a terribly common quality. That's partly why I love it. The other part of why I love it is because it speaks to me, because it's from such a rich place, and I've seen it done different ways. I've seen it done where it's almost and I when it's a little almost apologetic, like people are doing it to sort of make up for past wrongs. And that's not the version of it that I actually admire as much, because you're almost kind of always, I don't know, it's a very different vibe. This is just from this place that is just, it's this smorgasbord of just fucking love. It's ridiculous. Pardon my French, but fuck it. It's fucking ridiculous. Okay. And it's just so admirable, and it's so great. And I remember asking you once, I said, oh, my God, when did this, what brought you to that place? And we had a discussion about that, and I could just let that slide, or you may want to say, all right, I can explore that, or you can say, thank you, and we can move on. It's your call.
Oh, yeah, let's explore that. What did we say?
Well, I just remember I had asked you, and you said, wow, that's a very, very, very astute question.
It is. It's actually one, I'm going to go there in a second, but it's actually one that I asked Gary, my boss, when I sat down, and we sat down after I had already resigned, and he said, that's it, you're coming back as chief heart officer. And we talked about it a little bit, and we have a natural love and affinity for one another, so the conversation morphed. And then I said to him something like, when did you know you had that, like that alchemy, something like that. And anyway, you just reminded me of that. I don't know. Well, I know why, but I mean, I don't recall exactly what I said that day, but I do know that falling on my ass a number of times in my life, and falling. Now kind of call it like falling forward, because I can see that it propelled me out of whatever hellhole I was in. It propelled me maybe to a smaller hellhole. But there's something about I think there's something about pain for me that again, deep thoughts, but that's who I am. I was in so much pain in my 20s, a lot of self-inflicted pain, that I was on a crusade, actually in my late teens as well. I was on a crusade that I don't think anyone knew about, to understand myself. And not only to understand myself, because I am a piece of sand, as we know, but to understand the universe, to understand other people, to understand, the commonalities in the collective, which is empathy, quite frankly. So anyway, I don't know exactly what I said, but I'm sure I said something to that effect. And I don't know. I appreciate people who are real, and that these people I've been talking to at work lately just tell you how it is, and it's not going to be there. It's not. What is it? Rilke says, "No feeling is final." No feeling is final, and then I'm going to completely butcher it, but nearby there is a place that you call something. Give me your hand. I'll put it on my post. But anyway, yeah, no feeling is final. Like I want to encourage everyone I meet to remind them that wherever they are is where they are, and to try not to judge that, and maybe just to be curious about it, and remember that they're not going to be there forever.
Yep. And I'll add to that just this one little thing. You and I had a discussion when I was in New York, which had to do with legacy. It actually cracked me up, because I started just sharing this with you, and I think it was actually like within the first 5 minutes of you and I actually meeting face to face for the first time. And I said, damn it, something about the difference between fame and legacy. And because I was talking to somebody that before I came up to the office, and I said, when I was younger, there was always because I was always involved in art and music and this, that, the other. I always had sort of achievement and milestones accompanied and synonymous like with a certain amount of fame and recognition. And I said, but I said the difference between fame and legacy. And I said, but now I'm actually looking at a legacy, having things that I can leave for others. And the difference between fame and legacy is fame is about me, and legacy is about you. Legacy is about actually having that thing that goes out to benefit others. And fame is the thing of like, oh, look at me, I'm the star. No, it's like here. It's like giving back. And that distinction between the fame and legacy was something. And I remember you just going, ooh, are you okay? Can I just write that down? You pulled out your notebook. And I was like, oh, sure. Absolutely. And so anyway, so I'm loving the feedback that people are giving us. I'm loving our opportunity to share this, because usually we just have these conversations, just you and me alone. And but like I've said in the beginning of this, and I will say it again, and I always say it when we speak, I adore you to the ends of the earth. I think you're an incredibly fabulous, darling being. You are here for me, and I love what you stand for. I love who you are. I love what you do for others, and you're just a mushy little snuggle fest of wonderfulness.
I know. I don't know. We're connected for sure. This has been awesome. Really awesome. Ryan, thank you for sharing. It was let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. That was it. Thank you. And
Complete.
that says no feeling is stupid, which is also true. I love you, David. Thank you for jamming with me. Thank you, friends, for being here. I can't wait until we do this again.
Absolutely. Mwah. Love all you guys. Thank you all for participating and hanging out and sharing all that you shared.
Wow.
Truly was wonderful. It helped to amplify what was happening here. And so you guys rock. You rock. Mwah. Mwah.
Fairy dust, fairy dust, fairy dust. See ya.
Ciao.
Bye.